What's going on, everybody? It's Mighty Manotaur here with some more E3 video action. E3 is over at this point. It's a sad day, but tons of crazy stuff happened. Lots of new game announcements, gameplay demos, a bunch of cool stuff to talk about. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the press conferences specifically and just kind of my reactions to them, all the games that we saw, what I thought about the conferences in general, like biggest things I did like, you know, what maybe was disappointing, coolest reveals, all that kind of stuff, and rating the press conferences, I guess. I'm not big on giving like a number or a grade to these kinds of things because it's all so subjective, but try to put you a little bit of perspective of where I kind of came on the press conferences. I'm going to break down what all we saw during the press conferences and talk a little bit about the games and stuff, but I'm going to be doing a separate video, two videos actually, talking about the AAA games specifically and a little bit of information about all those games, and then a different video on the more indie games. And I'll break down kind of what I consider to be indie, because that word is becoming less and less meaningful as time goes on. But two separate videos talking about kind of like the big games and kind of the smaller games, downloadable games. But let's, I guess, get it started. Microsoft started off their E3 with their press conference. I thought it was really, really strong overall. Phil Spencer had promised, you know, all we're going to see are games, and they held up that promise. All they talked about were games, new game announcements, demos of games we knew about, just all that kind of stuff. And that was really cool to see as someone that I own a PS4, I own a PS3, I had an Xbox 360 for a little bit and wasn't really interested in a lot of those kind of exclusive games, so I got rid of it. So as someone that is not sold on Xbox One, it's really cool to see them double down on gamers the way that Sony did last year and say, you know, we tried all this TV stuff, the Kinect, all these other kind of social features. Now we're going to focus on games. Because that's kind of what gamers want. Video games? It's a weird concept, I know. But they started off with Call of Duty Advanced Warfighter. I am a lapsed Call of Duty fan. I played all of the original Call of Duties 1 through 3 before they had like big multiplayer. Played a little bit of COD 4 online. Modern Warfare 2 was where I really got into multiplayer, and I put hundreds of hours into it. I loved it. Since then, it's been a slow decline. I didn't really care for Black Ops. I played some Modern Warfare 3, but like got sick of it. Black Ops 2, I just wasn't really interested in. I played for a couple of weeks, and that was it. And then I skipped Call of Duty Ghosts entirely. Just because it feels rote now. It feels repetitious. So when they announced Advanced Warfighter, I was like, it's a little bit more in the future, that's it. But they showed this gameplay demo, and it looks great, I thought. It was just single player, but graphically it looked really amazing. The grenades were cool. You can, like, change what the grenade does on the fly, like mechs and exosuits and all that kind of stuff. So it looks promising. I'm still not totally sold on it, but it definitely got me interested in a way that I wasn't before. And from there, they went on to talk about Forza Horizon 2, which was a game that I predicted they would be announcing at before this. I think they actually announced it before E3, but that was in my Microsoft predictions video that we filmed. I think it was like 2 weeks before E3. So they, you know, it showed that it's launching on September 30th. I'm not a big racing game fan, so it doesn't really appeal to me, but looks beautiful. It's more Forza for people that like that. From there, Evolve, which is a like 4-on-1 multiplayer game where 4 people play the humans, or like the hunters or whatever, and then one person plays the monster that they're going after. It's a cool kind of asymmetrical game done by the guys that did the Left 4 Dead series. It looks cool. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, Like, I can appreciate it, and it looks great, but I just don't really have a ton of interest in it. But they talked a little about that. They revealed a new monster type, because they had only showed off one monster. So they revealed a new one. Looks like straight out of Cthulhu. It's like a squiddy, tentacly guy with like 4 eyes. It's pretty neat. From there, they went into the Assassin's Creed Unity demo. They showed off the multiplayer there, which is great. I'll talk more about Assassin's Creed in the next video, the AAA video. In general, though, I was kind of underwhelmed. It looks beautiful, but the gameplay seems like more Assassin's Creed. It doesn't look like they're doing anything different, which is what they need to do to get me to buy it, personally. Then there's Sunset Overdrive, one of the most impressive games at the show to me. And I'll kind of talk at the end of my game video what my like game of show was. I wasn't there. I didn't get to play any of these games, so I can't speak to that. But just from the trailers and gameplay demos that I've seen, kind of judging on that, Sunset Overdrive is up there for sure. Xbox exclusive by the guys that made the Ratchet and Clank games is a bummer. I love Insomniac. But hey, spread the love around. They're a talented studio. Microsoft deserves to get an exclusive out of them too. So I think it looks great. That is a game that if I had money, I would buy an Xbox to play that game by itself, you know? It's just bright colors and fun. It's a great sense of humor, tons of actions going on, fun weapons and explosions, and just really, really, it just looks like a great freaking time, you know? That's what gaming is. I just want to have fun when I'm playing it. So that definitely looks like that. And then they announced Dead Rising 3 DLC, which looks crazy. It has like really funny, absurd name, like, you know, Omega 3 DLC X HD co-op version. Like, it was a ridiculous title, but it has a bunch of like Capcom references and old game references, and it's like a new co-op mode. So that looks fun for people that are still into Dead Rising 3. That looks like a fun time. Then they showed off Dance Central. Well, not showed off. They announced Dance Central and talked a little bit about Fantasia. That sucks for the Harmonix guys that are doing both of those games. They were making 2 Kinect games that you can only play using the Kinect. And when Microsoft had the Kinect in the box, fine. Everyone that buys an Xbox is going to have a Kinect. Our sales should be fine. But then when Microsoft said, yeah, now you'll be able to buy an Xbox that doesn't have a Kinect in it, that sucks for those guys. Because now it's the same way as the Kinect was on the 360, where you don't know what your audience is anymore. Like, only a fraction of the people playing on Xbox are going to have a Kinect. That sucks. And they barely got any stage time. They didn't even get to show off the game. It's just really, Microsoft is really moving away from the Kinect, which is probably smart business-wise, but is really betraying people like Harmonix. So that sucks. They're a really talented studio, and Fantasia Music Evolved looks great. But yeah, it's just kind of a bummer. Then they talked a little bit about Fable Legends. Well, not a little bit. They showed a gameplay demo of it, like a co-op, where some of the people play the heroes and one guy plays the villain, who's trying to kill them. It's more, his side's more like a strategy RPG where he's like setting traps and enemies go here and kind of a big map lookout. And it's a cool thing, but I don't know. It's important to note that it's not a Fable game. Fable 1 through 3 was like totally RPG. This is not that at all. It's like a co-op. It looks kind of like dumbed down, action-y kind of gameplay. It didn't wow me, really, personally. Then they showed a little bit more about Project Spark, which is a great idea. It's building off of really what Little Big Planet did on the PS3, where like make your own maps, your own stories, and that kind of thing. And it's a really cool idea. They haven't shown enough of it yet for me to really feel like it's going to come together in any significant way. It's just been little bits and pieces, and that just, I don't know. They need to show me more of it before I'm sold. The idea is great, though. And then Ori and the Blind Forest, which is like a little indie game that I guess Phil Spencer really loved, which is why he wanted to put it in the press conference. It looks beautiful. Like, the art style is really great. It has this really ambient feel. It's like a little platformer. I just really liked, it looks like the story is deep and cool, and I like those kinds of indie games. Then they talked about the Halo Master Chief Collection, which I don't really care about the Halo games. I'll say that. I've played all 4 of them and ODST. So I guess the 5 and Reach. So the 6 main first-person shooter Halo games. I've played all 6 of them. So I'm coming at this with knowledge. So it's not like, well, yeah, screw Halo and I've never played the games. I've played all 6 of them. So whatever. They just never grabbed me for whatever reason. I think they're solidly made. I don't really like the first-person shooter mechanics in those games. Like how it's all hip fire and just, I don't know. And I also didn't play them co-op, which I guess is a really big part of it, playing on Legendary with friends. So I can totally appreciate them, but I never really got into them, and I didn't get into the multiplayer either. But this, the way that they're doing this, including all 4 Halo games, the first 2 are remastered with all the original multiplayer maps, and you play on those servers with those special physics for $60, like that's a crazy deal. And if I had an Xbox, as someone that isn't really into Halo, like gearing up for Halo 5, that really I would be really lukewarm on buying, period, because I'm not into them. for $60 for me to be able to go back and replay all those and get a more of a good sense of the story and the feel of the game, I would totally be into that. That would sell me for sure on the series. So that's a really awesome thing. Plus, for people that love the Halo series already, that's an amazing value, man. Like, that's one of the best values of the show. And then they talked a little bit about Halo 5. Not much. And that was one of my bigger disappointments of the conference, of Microsoft conference, was that you didn't really get anything more about Halo 5. And I guess they're still really early on, and they're using a lot of the feedback they're going to get from the Master Chief Collection to change what they're doing with Halo 5. But it would have been nice to get a little bit more of a trailer than just integrating it into the Master Chief Collection. I don't know. They must be too early on to show anything significant there. And then they showed off Inside, which is by the guys that made Limbo, one of my favorite games of the last generation. That's on my top 50 games on my blog, which is linked below. That game looks cool. I mean, it was like a minute-long trailer that didn't really show off anything, but the fact that it's made by the guys that did Limbo is enough. That would sell me on it for sure. It's really cool ambient kind of feel. And then they showed off the ID at Xbox, which is their kind of indie game push, self-publishing. They showed off lots of really cool games on there. That's just a cool thing, that after Sony came out and said, hey, we're betting on indies. Indies are the future of this industry, which they are. As AAA games get bigger and budgets get crazier and they take less risks and you just see more sequels, all the innovation is happening in the indie space. It just is. It's a fact. So it's cool to see Microsoft get onto that as well. And I'm excited to see a lot of their indies that they showed off at the show. And then they have the Rise of the Tomb Raider trailer, which, like, right away, right at the beginning, I was like, bam, that's freaking Tomb Raider. I could tell, like, in the first 5 seconds. I was like, oh, new Tomb Raider trailer. It was a cinematic. You didn't really see anything about the game. Also, Rise of the Tomb Raider is a really dumb name. I guess they just didn't want to call it Tomb Raider 2, which I get. I'm pumped for that game. That was kind of an inevitability that, of course, they're going to make a Tomb Raider 2, but I wasn't really expecting it to see it at the show, just because I didn't think that they'd be ready. Obviously, they weren't ready to show any gameplay. It was just a cinematic, but that got me super pumped. That's definitely among my most anticipated games list. I loved the first one. And then they had a Witcher 3 demo, which was really cool, like a griffin hunt, showing off one of the like missions of the hunts that you go on for these like big creatures, and a little bit of showed off the world and kind of the side missions and how stuff just happens ambiently, like you just stumble across stuff, like the way it would in Skyrim, where you just be wandering around and you stumble on a quest. That's really cool. From there, Phantom Dust, whatever the heck Phantom Dust was, that was one of their, like, we're remaking an original Xbox game that no one remembers. It's like a card-based puzzle combat game, but the trailer they showed was not that at all. It was a cool cinematic trailer, but doesn't, I mean, unless they're totally changing what the game is, didn't really show off much of the actual gameplay. So that was kind of a weird one. And then from there, they did a Division demo, which I'm sold on that game. What they showed today at the Microsoft conference this year wasn't really a great departure from what we saw last year, gameplay wise. But it just looks like an awesome time to play co-op third-person shooter with friends. That just looks like a really fun game. And then they showed revealed Scalebound, I think it was. Another cinematic trailer, which looks super neat. It's by the guy that made Vanquish, which was a really cool shooter, kind of like a mid-tier game. And this, like, it looks interesting. Like, big monsters, kind of Monster Hunter feel. So I'm definitely interested in seeing more. But again, that's probably a 2016 game, so it's probably going to be a while before we see anything significant on the gameplay side. And then they ended the conference with the reveal of a new Crackdown game. It's not called Crackdown 3 yet. It's just Crackdown. We'll see if it's actually Crackdown 3, but that was a neat thing to bring back. I loved Crackdown 1. It was a really fun time. I had lots of fun memories of going over to my buddy of mine's house and watching him play and that kind of thing. Just cool, dumb kind of game. But it felt like a weird thing to end the show with. Like, it didn't hit super hard. Like, a lot of people loved Crackdown 1. Crackdown 2 was a piece of garbage. But I don't know. It just felt odd. Like, it wasn't like a, and one more thing, crazy reveal, you know, because going into that, everyone was expecting Fallout 4 to be like their big reveal trailer. Obviously that didn't happen. No reveal for Fallout 4 at the show at all. But it didn't, I don't know, it left kind of like a, oh, okay, kind of feel. I didn't leave that conference being like, oh, hell yeah, that last game that looks freaking awesome, the way that Sony did with Uncharted, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, that's kind of like what happened at the show. So specifically I already talked a little bit about my disappointment about not seeing enough Halo 5. The Harmonix thing was a bummer just because I get why they're moving away from Kinect. That's a smart move, and I'm okay with that because I couldn't care less about Kinect in general. But Harmonix is such a talented studio that are working on 2 Kinect games, and they're totally being left behind on this, and that just really sucks. Overall, the biggest, coolest things for me at that conference were the Sunset Overdrive demo, and honestly, the Call of Duty Advanced Warfighter demo. Warfighter? Such a generic, stupid name, by the way. But that demo that they showed, I'm not going to GameStop to pre-order it yet. I'm not at that point, but it definitely, I did not care at all about that game going into that conference. And afterwards, I was like, all right, show me more. Let me see a little bit about the multiplayer, and then maybe I'll be on board. So those are kind of my thoughts about the Microsoft press conference. Overall, I thought it was really strong. They focused on games the way they promised they would. They showed off a lot of cool demos. They had some cool reveals. Nothing new, no new reveal to make me be like, oh, I have to go buy an Xbox today. But Sunset Overdrive is definitely on the list of games that I would love to play on Xbox. So who knows? If I randomly get $400, I'm going to buy one for sure. I'll give it an A-, just because it was a solid show, but they didn't have enough stuff to blow me away, enough new stuff to blow me away. But overall, I thought it was the strongest press conference of all 5 main press conferences. So good on you, Microsoft, from a person who other people would call a Sony fanboy, even though I like to think that I can be objective. They won the press conferences to me. So cool. Moving on. Next, we went to EA. Not as strong as Microsoft. Following up there, it just felt kind of disjointed. Let's talk about what they showed, and then we'll go from there. So they started off with Battlefront 3, which, great freaking place to start. One of my most anticipated games ever. But they didn't show off that much. I'm sure that's coming fall 2015, releasing around when the movie is coming out, assuming the movie doesn't get delayed. But it just, it was a bunch of developer diary stuff, which, good on them for putting the focus on the people making the game, because developers don't get enough attention in this industry. People like to harp on quality of a game and talk negatively about a developer, but they don't really talk about the good stuff that developers do. And that, they're human beings with lives and families, and this is a job. And so it was a cool thing to be able to, and that they did it with a lot of the games here, but in general, though, it didn't necessarily feel like they were doing it to be like, hey, look how awesome our devs are. It felt like they were doing it because they were like, hey, we don't really have any gameplay to show, so we have to just talk to the developers. So they showed off some art of Battlefront 3 and kind of how it's being done in whatever, Frostbite 4 now? Frostbite 3? Whatever. I think it's Frostbite 3. The game looks beautiful, but I almost would have rather seen another cinematic trailer like they did at the reveal last year, personally. And then they went into a Dragon Age demo, which, great, just give me that game. I just want to play it. They showed off some of the companions, the combat, that kind of thing, and the world in general. I just want it now. I'm sold. Just give me the game. And then they did kind of the same thing with Mass Effect reveal that they did with Battlefront, where it was just like, hey, we're working on Mass Effect 4. Here's some art, a little bit of tech stuff, and then a bunch of interview with Casey Hudson, the lead of the game. So I get lead dev of the game. I don't know. That kind of stuff just leaves me underwhelmed. We already knew they were working on Mass Effect. They already said they were. So it felt kind of like treading water a little bit to be like, yeah, we're working on it. Here's a piece of concept art. Thanks. But then they did talk a little bit about the new IP that BioWare is working on, which I thought was going to be a Star Wars game, and it's not. I'm a little bit bummed by that, but it's a new IP, so fine. I'm all about new IP in this industry. There are too many freaking sequels and rehashing of old ideas. So they showed up, it was like trees. like trees in the wind for like 15 seconds. But I get it's like a not mystery, but it's like a kind of like like mystery solving ish. They hardly said anything about it, but cool, good for them that they're working on another thing. That game is probably really, really far off if Mass Effect 4 is their next game to launch after Dragon Age. And then they had a really long Sims 4 demo. Like, it's more Sims. We get it. That demo was so long with Chuck and Gladys. Like, oh, Chuck's just a bro that likes to lift weights, and Gladys has no sense of humor. Like, who cares? Who cares? It annoyed me. It did. And then they showed off the UFC with Bruce Lee is in it. Cool. I don't care about sports games. That's me. I don't care about sports games, so of course I'm not going to care about these sports games. If you're into that kind of stuff, I bet you loved the EA conference, which is great. I did not because I don't care about sports games. UFC, they talked about NHL, the PGA game, PGA 2015, where he hits a freaking golf ball over a battlefield boat. Like, what the hell? And they talked about Madden, all these crazy new improvements. Like, oh, Madden's got new defense mechanics. Awesome. I bet it's still football. And I'm not blaming them for that because you can only do so much. But then why come out with a game every year? Because they make a bunch of money. That's why. So that's kind of my feeling on those sports games, and that's why in general the EA press conference was like half and half. Like half cool, half like sports games. Criterion showed off their new game, which is obviously really early on. Good on EA for showing off like, hey, this is really early. All of this might change, but we just want to show you kind of this process. And that's really neat. We don't get to see enough of that in the industry. There's too much like secrecy and, oh, we don't want to show off this game too early because if it changes, people will feel betrayed, or like, hey, we don't want to show this off. It might be too rough, and if it looks bad, people are going to hate it. So cool that they're showing off that. With that being said, I have no idea what the hell that game is. It feels like ATVs and gliders and boats and cars and planes and helicopters and stunts and racing, and where's the game in that? Like, cool stuff, but I don't know, it just seems odd. Again, it's really early on, so I'm sure they'll come up with a game around that stuff because Criterion's a really talented kind of like racing developer, but it was weird, but cool. Then they talked about they're coming out with a MOBA. Because what this world needs is more MOBAs. It's called Dawngate. Dawnstar? Dawngate. It's called Dawngate. It's a MOBA. Because MOBA. Everyone's making a MOBA. Why is everyone making a MOBA? People play League of Legends and Dota. That's it. No one cares about other MOBAs. I don't understand. But EA's making one because money. Mirror's Edge. More kind of dev talk, showed off some tech stuff, a little bit of the flowy combat. They talked about how they were going to be improving the shooting mechanics, which was my biggest thing, my biggest detriment to the first game. So good on them. Glad to see a little bit more, but I wanted to see more than what they showed. And then they finished off with Battlefield Hardline, because of course they did. That leaked pre-show. That was not a planned reveal. That leaked for sure. And so they had to... This would have been a much bigger reveal had they been able to wait until the show. With that being said, like, I'm glad Visceral is doing it. Like, it's cool that a non-DICE studio is making a Battlefield game. One, because it gives DICE more opportunity to work on Battlefront. And two, it gives a little bit of a fresh take on the series. So what they're doing with it, with like a Cops and Robbers, a little bit smaller scale, great. I'm glad you're trying new things. It doesn't... Like, I'm not really interested in it. I really liked Battlefield 3, really liked Battlefield 4 when it worked, which wasn't very often. But this, I don't know, I just kind of go meh when I see this. I am glad they're trying new things, but it's not really for me, maybe. And it also bums me out because Visceral's working on a new Star Wars game. And unless they're a lot bigger of a studio than I thought they were, I can't imagine they're really working on both those games at once. And I would much rather see Visceral make a really cool ambient Star Wars game led by the writer of the Uncharted series, Amy Hennig, than a new Battlefield game. So that makes me sad a little bit. But a lot of other people are super hyped about Battlefield Hardline, so cool. It looks a little bit Payday-ish, which is a fun game, but with kind of a less sense of humor, which... So... good. I mean, not a shocking way for them to end the press conference, but probably the best way for them to end the press conference. Overall, I was pretty underwhelmed by EA. They showed off a lot of the games that I'm waiting for. I mean, my most anticipated games, Battlefront, Mass Effect, Mirror's Edge 2. Like, 3 of my most anticipated games are EA games. But what we saw of those was nothing really substantial. A little bit of the tech stuff, a little bit of dev talk. It just kind of was like... I just left feeling underwhelmed and a little bit bummed that we didn't get to see more. But I guess, I mean... what else did I want to talk about, really? Oh, the other big thing that's worth talking about, Andrew Wilson, the guy, they're like head, I don't know if he's their CEO, but like the guy that was on stage for most of the time, his suit was fucking awesome. Like black suit with like leather lapels and really cool like white or black shoes with like white soles. He looked sharp. Andrew Wilson, if you're watching this, you looked good, buddy. He's not watching this. But that was like the biggest stand-up thing of the press conference, which says something to me. But overall, I'd give them like a C, maybe like a C+, just because they do have a lot of games that I'm really looking forward to. But the sports stuff and the behind-the-scenes stuff was just kind of like a little bit disappointing to me. Okay, so moving on. Ubisoft. They had a great conference overall. They had a couple of misses that we'll talk about, but overall, great conference. Aisha Tyler did a really great job. In the past, I think this was her third year hosting the conference. I love Aisha Tyler. I love Archer. I have an Archer shirt that I'm wearing in one of the vlogs that I did a while ago. In the past, she's felt a little bit forced. Like, forced humor, forced, like, I'm a gamer. And she is a gamer. Like, people ragging on her, like, you're not a real gamer, you're an attractive, like, 30-something actress, there's no way you play video games. Like, I totally buy that she plays games, and that she has played games. She did a great job in this show. Just kind of her improv skills, and just her sense of humor, and making fun of herself, and the show and the press conferences in general, I really enjoyed. I got a lot of laughs out of that. So, good on you, Aisha Tyler. That was definitely one of the highlights of the show for me, was just her in general. And she retweeted me. I made a witty comment about something, and she retweeted me on Twitter. So Ubisoft started off with Far Cry 4. They did a villain trailer showcasing their new villain after all of the rigmarole about like the racism allegedly when they revealed that box art, because it looked like a white guy controlling this like Eastern Asian guy. That wasn't a white guy. It was very clear that he wasn't like a Caucasian dude. And so what if he was? So what if racism is a big part of that game? Racism is a big thing in general. Why can't a video game talk about that? I don't understand. And he's the bad guy too. If he's a racist, it just gives you another reason to hate him. People love to be offended by everything. So they showed off the new villain, which was really awesome. The first line that guy said, I tweeted at Troy Baker. I was like, you're the villain. I know it already. You're the villain. Sure enough, after the trailer, he was like, yep, happy to announce I'm playing the villain, which is awesome. Troy Baker's a really talented dude. He's in every video game that comes out now, but if he manages to keep up his skill of doing different voices and different kinds of characters, then fine. It's not like he's just playing himself or his own voice. He plays around a lot, so that's really cool. It was a great trailer. That looks like a really fun villain to go after in the game. Then they talked about Just Dance 15. They had a really awkward stage demo with a bunch of paid dancers dancing on the stage, like a bunch of really attractive mid-20s people up there, like, oh, dancing. And it was really awkward, and I felt very embarrassed for all of those people. And I have a bunch of like actor, musical theater friends, and I was like, I wonder if I know anyone that's on that stage. Yeah, it was really awkward and terrible. But from there, they went on to show a little bit of The Division. It was like a trailer. They focused more about the story of the game, which we haven't really seen a whole lot about. We know there was like a big plague or like epidemic or something with Black Friday. So I don't even know. Like, still, I kind of don't even know. But it was a nice artsy kind of trailer, but it didn't give me enough of what the story was. Like, you're like a group of scavengers that try to help people. I don't know. Going after the Microsoft actual gameplay demo, this felt a little bit underwhelming. to show at their own press conference. And then they had a trailer for The Crew, which was actually a really awesome trailer, because one of the big things in that game is, like, it's the whole country of the United States where you can drive from one end to the other. And they showed a lot of that. Like, they have, like, 2-hour-long missions of, like, drive from, like, friggin' Nevada up to Maine. And obviously it doesn't take you as long as it would in real life, but it was a cool artsy trailer with some cool music and, like, fast forward. So I enjoyed that. Again, not really a big racing game fan, so the game itself doesn't really interest me, but it was a cool trailer. And then they showed more about Assassin's Creed Unity. Again, it wasn't... The demo that they showed there was a lesser version of the demo we saw at the Microsoft conference. It just seems weird that at their own conference for their own game, they're showing less than they did at the other conference. I don't know. The game looks beautiful, but again, same Assassin's Creed stuff, just with multiplayer co-op, isn't enough for me. And then they did Shape Up, which was also super awkward. They started off like, gamers, we're going to get you to exercise. And I was like, no, you're not. Doesn't matter how much of a game you make it, it's still exercise. And let's be honest, gamers tend to not be super active. So it was cute, like tons of like stuff going on screen, and Aisha Tyler did a fun job of like talking about what's going on during it, and the other guy, whatever, one of the makers of the game, some French dude, and it looks like cute and funny and stuff and quirky, but you're exercising. People don't want to do that. Like, I want to play with the controller. And then they showed Valiant Hearts, which looks gorgeous. It's like a World War I setting, which is cool because a lot of games don't really talk about that. And it's like a story, like adventure gamey thing. They haven't really shown a whole lot of like what you actually do in a game, but the story of it just looks so fascinating. And it's like from the perspective of like a medical dog that has interactions with like 5 different people across World War I, and it's all based upon story, and it just looks beautiful too. Like, it's in the UbiArt engine, which is one of my biggest things that I wanted to see when I was tweeting out before the press conferences, like what I wanted to see, new UbiArt games, because I've been playing Child of Light, which is on the UbiArt engine, and just that, the way that those games look is so hand-drawn, like a mixture of 2D and 3D, just gorgeous visuals. And so that game looks like more of that, which is like, I'm really, really looking forward to that game. And then they finished off with the big reveal that a lot of people kind of saw coming, new Rainbow Six game. Rainbow Six Siege, it's called. It was a really long, cool demo of like the co-op multiplayer gameplay, like over a hostage, like trying to save a hostage versus trying to take the hostage. And that's really cool, and like a lot of people are super pumped about it. I don't know why, but I was impressed by the demo, but when I think about the game, with all these games coming out in the next 2 years, when I think about Rainbow Six Siege, I can't see myself picking it up. I can't tell you why. It's only been a week since, or it's been like 5 days since it was revealed. So maybe like once we see more gameplay and more stuff about that and kind of what the single player is like, if there is one, I might be more into it. But I don't know. It didn't grab me the way that The Division did, because they ended up with the reveal of The Division last year. They ended their conference with the reveal of Watch Dogs the year before. Both those games totally grabbed me. I was like, hell yes, this is next gen. This looks amazing. Rainbow Six Siege didn't do that. So I guess that's part of why it felt a little underwhelming to me. But, you know, if you think it looks great, let me know why in the comments. What about it looks cool to you? Overall, the Ubisoft demo, I really liked. Overall, I thought it was a really strong, not demo, press conference, really strong press conference. Aisha Tyler did a great job hosting it. Lots of cool gameplay things. But again, like, a lot of the gameplay, we saw better versions of it at the Microsoft conference or later on at the Sony conference. And that just felt weird to me. But overall, I mean, I'd give it like a B. Like a B is probably good. Because there were more games that I'm interested in than not interested in. Just Dance and Shape Up and kind of The Crew were the games that I was kind of like, eh. But most of the games, especially like Valiant Hearts, looks awesome. So good on you, Ubisoft. Great press conference. And then the last press conference of the first day, Sony. Let me take a drink of water really quick. I've already been talking for 35 minutes. Delicious. So, Sony's press conference, ending day one. I'm a Sony guy. Not a fanboy. I will fight to the death to anyone that calls me a fanboy. But I'm a Sony guy. I own a PS4, I own a PS3. I've always been more of a Sony person. I like the trophies, I like the first-party studios, I like the exclusive games on Sony platforms. All that to say, I was really underwhelmed by Sony's press conference for multiple reasons. But first, let's go through what we saw. I'll do this faster because there were kind of more things to talk about at Sony's press conference than any of the other ones. Started off with a bunch of Destiny news. Great place to start. That game looks amazing. They talked about the Destiny demo that's going to be the end of July. I'm in the alpha. I played it last night. It's awesome. I don't know if I'm allowed to even talk about it, so I won't say anything specific, but I'm blown away. Excited for that game. And then they talked about the PS4 bundle with Destiny. It's a new white PS4 that looks sexy as hell. I'm glad I have a PS4, and I would be bummed if I had to wait that long, but if I didn't have a PS4 and I knew I was going to get one this summer to play Destiny, that's the one I'd buy. White, it looks awesome. And then they showed off more of Order 1886. I'm still not sold on that game. Like, I really want to be, and I'll talk more about this in the game breakdown video, but it looks beautiful. One of the most next-gen looking games that I've seen thus far. But just the way that they intersplice cutscenes with the actual action is neat, that it all is in-engine. There's not like actual cutaway fades to the cutscenes, but it looks like there are tons of cutscenes. Not enough actual gameplay. Maybe that's just what they've shown so far, but I'm still kind of like I want to be into it, but I'm just not totally sold yet. And then they showed Entwined, a little indie game, and then announced like you can go get it right now, which is really cool. Really cool that they would do that, like, oh yeah, look at this game, doesn't it look really cool? You can, be excited for when you can go buy it right now. Like, that was a really fun thing. And the game looks beautiful. I'll talk more about that in my indie game breakdown video. And then they showed off DLC for Infamous, which I loved, one of my favorite games so far this year. I platinumed that game, played it through twice. I really liked it. This one focuses on the chick. Can't think of her name. It's like Flash or something like that. Some kind of like light name. But it's a cool DLC to have, like to focus on that character with her powers. I'm sure the story will be cool. It's about her brother, I guess, that died, kind of how that happened. It'd just be a cool excuse to go back to that game. And also a cool thing, you don't have to own Infamous Second Son to play this, which is pretty neat for people that didn't get into Infamous, to just try this out if it's like $10-15 and say, oh, I'll try it out, see if I like it, then pick up Infamous. Then they showed the Little Big Planet 3 demo, which was really rough. I guess there was some kind of like technical difficulties with input lag on the controllers. And also it doesn't help that the platforming in those games have never been great. It was a cute demo. They showed off lots of fun new characters, but it the demo was rough. And everyone kind of had a good sense of humor about it, and that was fun, and it was adorable, but I don't care about a new Little Big Planet. I played Little Big Planet 1 and 2. I never really got into the map making or playing other people's maps, which is kind of the big selling point of those games, but I don't have any interest in Little Big Planet 3 personally. Then they showed Bloodborne, which was the rumored Project Beast game from Software. From Software. The company is called From Software. It's confusing. But they made Demon's Souls, Dark Souls 1 and 2. Sony owns the Demon's Souls IP, which is why we haven't seen a Demon's Souls 2. So Bloodborne is a new game in that style. It's not a sequel to Demon's Souls, obviously. It's a new game, but it's by From Software, the guy that made Demon's Souls. It's a little bit more fast-paced. I'm not super into the Demon's Souls, Dark Souls games because they're so kind of slow and heavy feeling, and they're tough, but you have to devote a ton of time and effort into those games to get good at them, and I just never wanted to take that time. But this one, because it's a little bit faster paced, might get me more interested. The trailer looks really cool. Then they did a Far Cry 4 demo, which, it was awesome. That demo was awesome. Straight up. I'll talk more about that later, because I don't want to spend too much time, but it looks great. I'm totally on board for that game. And then they did a Dead Island 2 trailer. I don't know why Dead Island 2 exists, because the publishers of Dead Island have the new Dying Light game coming out. It's not the same developer, but it's the same publisher, and those are very similar first-person exploration, zombie combat games. I don't know. The trailer was fun. I loved the trailer. It was really funny, but I don't know why that game exists. Also, place my bets right now, that voice you heard from the dude hopping in the van, Jack Black. He's doing a character in that game. And then they showed off some Disney Infinity stuff. The Marvel superheroes. And Hulk is exclusive to Sony platforms for 30 days. Who cares? And then they did some stuff on Diablo 3, like an exclusive dungeon. It's just... That was kind of my overall thing with the Sony press conference. They had a lot of focus on small little exclusive things. Like, oh, the game... It's not exclusive games, even. It's like, this character is exclusive, or this 30 minutes of gameplay is exclusive, and... who cares? Like, that stuff, by definition, cannot be integral to the game. Because if it was integral to the game, it wouldn't be fair that it was exclusive on one system. So it's all this, like, superfluous stuff. It just seems weird. And it's like they showed the Magicka 2 trailer, which was an awesome trailer. It was a great sense of humor. It was really funny. I never played Magicka, but it's like a co-op magic, like, warlock, wizard kind of game. It was just a fun trailer. I liked the trailer. And then they revealed, bam, Grim Fandango, coming to PS4, remake of the original game, which is really cool. It's like an adventure game, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come, because Disney owns exclusive rights to a bunch of those games, and Disney in general doesn't care about video games, so it's cool that if Grim Fandango is coming, then maybe we'll get like a remastered version of Monkey Island. And then they did another indie montage showing off a bunch of games there. I'll talk about that in my indie video. Lots of really cool games to look forward to in that montage. Suda51's next game, Let It Die, is exclusive to PS4, which is cool. Look, it's like, it was really messed up. Like, it was like a live action-ish kind of trailer with like, but like they had players and health and stuff. It was super violent. Cool trailer. And then Abzu, which is by a bunch of the guys that made Journey. It's like an underwater exploration game. Looks neat, kind of ambient. I loved Journey, so if it's more in that vein, I'm down. No Man's Sky, one of my best games of the show for sure. What they showed from that, just procedurally generated, just that game. If it comes together, like what they're promising, if that comes together, that could be like one of the best games ever. It's just, I can't imagine that game is going to be what it looks like it's going to be. It's too mind-blowing. Then they showed off some Project Morpheus stuff, just that it was going to be on the show floor for people to try, which is neat. Showed off some free-to-play games like PlanetSide 2, Loadout, Fat Princess, those kind of things coming to Sony PS4. The PlayStation Now beta is going to be at the end of July, which in my Sony E3 predictions, I thought that it was going to go live in August, so I was off by a day. Good for me. I'm really excited about PlayStation Now. It's going to be a cool way to play games that you missed on old consoles. Didn't talk about necessarily pricing information, but hopefully we'll see a little bit of that in the open beta. The PlayStation TV, they revealed it's no longer the Vita TV, and it is coming to America, and before it was only in Japan, I think. It's for $99. Couldn't care less about it. Then they showed off a Mortal Kombat 10 trailer, Mortal Kombat X, I guess they're calling it, which was really violent and fun. Then they had a really long segment with Brian Michael Bendis, who I like. He's a comic book writer. I think he's a really fun, talented comic book writer. But he went off script, hardcore, talking about Powers, one of his comic books that's coming exclusively to PlayStation 4 TV or whatever, like as an exclusive series. It felt like 10 minutes, man, where he was just up there talking really awkwardly about how excited he is. And they showed off like 2 pieces of concept art. It just was like I was falling asleep, honestly. And then they showed a little bit about the Ratchet & Clank movie, which looks adorable, but why would you show like a minute-long teaser trailer for the movie at your gaming conference? I don't understand. And then they did Last of Us PS4 Remastered, which for people that haven't played it, pick it up, but I've already played it. No interest in playing again, so it's going to look a little bit better. Who cares? Great game, though. Play it if you haven't. And then they had a really long Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain trailer, which no idea what the hell was going on. No idea. It was so, like, it was very Japanese. People that are really excited about that game and really into that lore, I'm sure understood more of what was going on than I did, but no idea what that trailer was. And then they revealed that Grand Theft Auto 5 officially coming to PS4, and I'm sure Xbox One and PC as well. But you'll be able to transfer your online GTA Online progress from PS3 and Xbox 360 to PS4, which is a pretty cool feature for people that have played that. I never played GTA 5. I'm not really into that series. I may pick it up if it's coming to PS4. It'll be probably the best way to experience that game, so I might pick it up. And then they had an Arkham Knight demo. That game is not... I'm not won over yet on that game. I liked Arkham Asylum. I liked the story of it. I liked-ish Arkham City. It felt like more of the same, but like in a bigger world, which was neat. This feels like more of the same in the same world, with a Batmobile that looks like it controls awkwardly. Like, I'm sure the story is going to be really cool. The Arkham Knight character sounds cool, and with the Scarecrow seems neat, but I just, I can't work up any enthusiasm about that. The thing they did were, like, it was in the demo, and then it, like, glitched out, and I was like, uh-oh, what's going on? And then they showed off, like, the Scarecrow was the one disrupting that. That was a cool thing. That totally caught me by surprise. And then they finished it off with one of the biggest reveals of the show. Well, not even really a reveal, but one of the biggest trailers, Uncharted 4. It's still happening. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, it is called. They're touting it as being the last game in the series, which I'm on board for. I love that series, one of my favorite game series of the last generation. Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, both two of my favorite games of the last generation, and Uncharted was really solid as well. But I'm ready for that to go out to pasture. So making this as kind of like one last hurrah is the perfect thing to make me excited for it. It was a cool trailer. Short, didn't show off hardly anything, but just hearing Nolan North's voice and whatever the guy's name that does Sully, their voices in it, just made me excited to be a PlayStation 4 owner. And it's coming out next year, which surprises me. Hopefully it doesn't get pushed back. That's kind of the Sony press conference. What else to talk about? Biggest disappointment from the Sony press conference was that there was no Last Guardian. Right before the press conference started, I was like, dude, if they opened this press conference with Uncharted 4 and ended it with Last Guardian, drop the mic, they would win for sure. They ended it with Uncharted, which was nice. No Last Guardian, which is really disappointing because they've said a million times that game is still being made. IGN had a rumor article that was like, uh-oh, the game's actually been canceled. And they came out and like, no, the game is still happening. And I was like, oh, well, then they have to show it at E3. And then they didn't. What the hell is going on with that game? Honestly, I don't understand. I'm not even super interested in it anymore. I'm more interested in the story of what has happened. It's been like 8 years since they revealed that game. I'm more interested in the story of what has gone on with it than the actual game. But I want it to come out. I want to be able to play it, and hopefully it doesn't suck. So bummed that wasn't at the press conference. What else? They didn't have enough first-party reveals. They showed off Uncharted 4 is like officially still happening. Little Big Planet 3. Now it's kind of it. Like, what is... Guerrilla Games is allegedly working on a new IP, like a new RPG. What is that? Media Molecule's working on a new IP. What is that? What's Santa Monica doing? I guess they're helping Ready at Dawn with the Order, but they've got to be working on something else. If it's a new God of War, hopefully not. Hopefully it's something else. Like, what are these studios doing now? Like, they've got to be working on something. It bummed me out. As a PS4 owner, it was a bunch of third-party stuff. Not enough first-party stuff, and that's what I want to see. And that leads me to my next thing. Like, a lot of their third-party stuff that they showed looked great, that I'm sure appeals to a lot of people, but me personally, a lot of the third-party games that they showcased, I'm not that interested in. Like Mortal Kombat, I'm not interested in. What else? They had other ones. Like Dead Island 2, I don't know that I'm going to be interested in that. I don't know, it just seemed... It felt underwhelming to me. Like with GTA 5, they showed off like... I don't know, it's just not enough games that I'm interested in. Because this is my opinions. Remember, my opinions. This isn't like objectively what is the best. This is all subjective, what I liked and did not like. That was kind of the biggest stuff from Sony. I loved No Man's Sky. Looked awesome. And the Far Cry 4 demo looked awesome. Those were kind of my biggest hits to Sony's press conference. I'll give them A B feels fair. No, a B minus, honestly. Because while they showed a lot of cool stuff that I'm excited about, they had a lot of third-party games that I'm not super excited about. They spent way too much time talking about not gaming stuff, like the PS TV, PlayStation Now. Like I'm glad they're doing that, but they talked too much about it. The Powers thing that went on freaking forever. Project Morpheus, like the PS4 bundle, like all these things. A lot of them they did spend small amounts of time on, but added all up, and it was too much time from a gaming press conference. Whereas Microsoft, 100% video games. Didn't talk about any new SKUs of the system. Didn't talk about any like Kinect stuff, any peripherals, nothing. All freaking video games. And that's what I wanted out of Sony, and that's not what I got. So a little bit disappointed by Sony, honestly. And then the last one that happened Monday, Nintendo's press conference. I didn't get to watch it, unfortunately. I had to work. Wait, was it Monday? It was Tuesday. Tuesday morning. I watched it after the fact and watched all the demos and gameplay stuff after the fact. I'm sad I didn't get to watch it live, but I do have some thoughts on it. They revealed that Mii's will be available in Smash with, like, I think it's 3 different fighting styles, which is a neat little thing. They revealed their kind of character, like how Disney Infinity and Skylanders have like little character, actual physical toys that you put on a platform and play with. They revealed that thing. It's called Amiibo. Clever. They didn't talk a ton about it, like what it's going to actually do, but it's going to be in Smash, it's going to be in Mario Kart, Mario Party, I'm sure some other stuff, whatever the next Mario game, big Mario game is. And then they revealed Yoshi's Woolly World, which has been in development for a while. I loved Kirby's Epic Yarn. I thought it was adorable. It was really easy, but it was a cute game. So this one looks a little bit more intensive. Cool mechanics. It's got like co-op in it. It looks really adorable to me. And then they revealed the Captain Toad game, Captain Toad Treasure Hunter, I think it was, and that looks fun. I don't know. It's a cool idea for a game, like little individual maps that you're kind of exploring and finding hidden things, and like a little bit of combat and that kind of thing. Like it's a cool idea for a game, but it didn't blow me away. The Zelda trailer blew me away. We haven't heard about that game for a couple of years now, from when they revealed it like 2 or 3 years ago. So it's cool to know that is coming still, and they're doing a lot of neat stuff with it, new stuff. It's like a big open world. They talked about relating it to like Skyrim, where you can kind of go anywhere. And I do wish that we would have been able to see more actual gameplay. The beginning of it, they made it look like it was gameplay. Who knows if it actually was when you're riding on the horse running away from that dude, and then it kind of transitioned into a cutscene with the arrows and stuff. It looks beautiful, the art style and all that kind of thing, but I wish we would have been able to see something more substantial. That kind of tells me that game's probably still a ways off. Maybe a fall 2015 game. And then they talked more about the Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire updates that they're doing for 3DS. I love Pokemon. I don't own a 3DS, unfortunately, so I can't play that. There's like new evolutions and stuff, which is neat. More Pokemon is more Pokemon. I don't know. Those Ruby and Sapphire were 2 of my favorite Pokemon games, so the fact that they're remaking those, upgrading them, and that kind of thing is pretty neat. And then they did Bayonetta 2, which they're packaging it with the original Bayonetta, which is a cool thing for people that didn't play that. It looks like more Bayonetta, like way over the top kind of combat action, crazy hair combat. It's neat. It's like that's like the only third-party game that the Wii U has, which is kind of sad. But it's a neat game. It doesn't fit with Nintendo's style, so it makes it seem kind of weird. And they talked about Hyrule Warriors, which is like a Dynasty Warriors-esque game with Zelda characters. They revealed that you can play as Zelda and as Midna in it. I'm sure there'll be plenty more characters to talk about. But that's a fun hack-and-slash game. Not a system-seller game to me, but kind of a cool thing. And then Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, new Kirby game. Looks cute, just like the Yoshi's Woolly World did. Kind of cool new with a gamepad, like rainbow things that you do. I don't know. It was kind of there was a ton of stuff happening in that trailer. I watched it a couple of times and still was like, I don't know how this is actually happening. But it was a cute trailer. The Xenoblade Chronicles X, the new Xenoblade game, that's a really good series of RPGs on those systems. This one, it had like mechs in it. It just seems really Japanese. Like the story of it, I was just like, what's going on? And then they revealed Mario Maker, which was definitely one of the biggest reveals for me of E3. it looks really cool. Being able to make your own Mario levels and stuff and share them with friends, like, that's a really awesome idea. So, honestly, I can't believe it's been this long before that came out, but I'm sure they haven't had hardware with that kind of power to be able to do that. So, that's really cool that that's coming out. That's a game that I would want to buy a Wii U to be able to play. And then Splatoon, which looks like a really fun, like, multiplayer arena, kind of co-op, competitive multiplayer game where, like, you're spreading around, like, paint and stuff like that. It just looks really fun, and kind of a style of game that Nintendo hasn't really done, so that's pretty neat. And then Palutena is going to be in Smash, they revealed. She's from the Kid Icarus series, which is cool. I never really played those games, so I'm not super familiar with that character, but a lot of people flipped out when they revealed that she was going to be in it, so she must be pretty popular. And then Miyamoto had like a little interview thing where he talked about the games that he's working on. He's working on new IP, which is really, really exciting. I mean, one of the, if not the most talented game developer in the entire industry working on new IP is really exciting, where he's not just making a new Mario game. So that's pretty neat. He's really focusing on how to make the gamepad cool, which is awesome too. Like Project Guard, I think, was one thing he talked about. But he also, like, he was playing Star Fox in the little demo thing that they showed off. That was a Star Fox game, so awesome. That was one of the games that I most wanted to see out of Nintendo, was a new straight up Star Fox. So if they are really working on that and it's not just like a tech demo, I'll be really pumped. And then after the press conference, they talked about Mario Party 10, which seems like more Mario Party. It's a really fun series. I get really competitive and frustrated playing that game because I feel like it becomes not fun at a certain point because everyone's just fucking each other over, and it's like, it's not even to where, like, if you're playing with 4 people, it's not even like, you know, first place, second place, third place, fourth place. It's like one person wins and the other 3 people hate that person, like want them to die. So more Mario Party madness, I'm sure, will ensue. Biggest disappointment from Nintendo's press conference was that there was no new Metroid. That was probably the game I was most looking forward to seeing. Whatever it ended up being, if it was a first person, like the Wii version was, or if it was like an old school side scroller, I wouldn't care. Like, I just wanted a new Metroid game. So hopefully that's in the pipe in the future. You have to think that it is. Mario Maker was the biggest standout, really, to me of that, and along with the new Zelda game. Though I do wish that we would have been able to see more of the actual gameplay. I kind of, as happy as I am with Miyamoto working on new IP, I'm a little bummed that there isn't a new big Mario game. Like, Mario Maker is an awesome thing, but it's not like a typical Mario experience. You know, a lot of people were anticipating a Super Mario Galaxy 3 or Super Mario Sunshine 2. Either one of those, I would have been like, oh, like that would have been a system seller for sure. So either they're trying to take a break from it, which probably would be smart, or they're just not ready to reveal it and be able to reveal it at TGS. So overall, with Nintendo, I give them a solid B+. A lot of the stuff that they showed was really cool. Like, a lot of new games, like the Captain Toad game, Woolly Yoshi, Kirby. It's a lot, you know, existing franchises, sure, but kind of cool new takes on it. So I'd give them like a solid B+. Mario Maker and Zelda are enough reasons for me to go out and buy a Wii U if I had the money, which I just don't. But cool system seller games, honestly. So good on you, Nintendo. Kind of weird that they're not, like, they haven't been doing these big press conferences anymore. They're just doing this smaller kind of direct thing. But it's been working for them. They've revealed cool new games. So if that keeps working, keep it up. Yeah, that's kind of my general thoughts on press conferences in general. Like I said, I'll be doing separate videos talking about big AAA games, and then another video talking about kind of the smaller indie games, and which ones stood out to me from the trailers and stuff that I've been seeing online. So, what did you guys like? What was your favorite press conference? What did you not like? What was your least favorite press conference? What new games coming out that were revealed? Looks cool. What kind of demos were your favorite? All that kind of stuff. Just give me feedback, you know. Let's not make it like, oh, you said you're not interested in Assassin's Creed. Thumbs down! Because that's kind of some of the feedback I'd got from our predictions videos, which make me roll my eyes because opinions on the internet. Just because you don't agree with someone doesn't make that person wrong. in case you didn't know that. But yeah, I got lots of good feedback from those two, and a lot of people that were excited for E3, like I was. So hopefully you all enjoyed E3. I loved it. I spent all day Monday watching press conferences and doing that kind of thing, which was really fun for me to be able to do and live tweet and all that kind of thing. So really excited for the state of gaming and for the next 3 years in video games. So let me know what you guys thought. Thanks for watching. This video is like exactly an hour almost. See you guys in the next video. Peace.